Hey everybody, I wanted to finish our series on financial planning in volatile markets. This whole series is really about this meeting after meeting after meeting with clients over the years and realizing that one of the keys to financial planning is aligning your needs and desires with your actual reality and the portfolio that you're going to utilize to carry out those dreams. So that's what those first two parts of this series are really about, is trying to get to know you and your situation and your desires, and then taking a look at your resources and how they're going to be used, aligning your risk tolerances, and then building the portfolio. But along that ride, I talked about some of the problems that need to be solved in order to move on to the next step. And some of the most common problems I run into is the not enough. That calculation I love to make that divides how many years you have left till 100 into how much money you have saved, adding the guaranteed income, and then kind of figuring out if your resources meet your needs. Well, some people, this calculation doesn't work out, and we realize you don't have enough, and we have to go into problem solving mode. And the newer problem that we have is safe investments. What do we do? You know, look, in from 1982-ish to let's say 2002-ish. Okay, we got 2 decades there where bonds were the best safe investment. Interest rates were consistently coming down. They hit zero after 9/11 happened. And since then, interest rates have floundered. They tried to come up, they fell apart. They tried to come up, they fell apart. So bonds have floundered subsequently. Okay, so now we need safe investments that we can actually withdraw from, because the only reason we need safe investments is so you don't have to withdraw from turbulence, investments that have lost money. Okay, so these are the 2 major problems that I run into constantly in portfolios when it comes to dealing with the volatile markets. So first thing we got to do is understand the most common problem, which is maybe my budget needs, my bills are more than my guaranteed income. And one of the more common problems we run into is those bills sometimes amount to a mortgage payment. Maybe we just didn't get the house paid off before we retired. Maybe we got pushed into retirement early. But I find it strange, to be real honest, to find yourself in retirement. My example here is $1,000 mortgage payment. Now think about what happens when you go and pull this from your portfolio. So we have to go pull $1,200 from the portfolio, and I'm using broad terms so we kind of understand the effect of this. Then we got to pay taxes on it, right? Especially if it's from IRA, it's all taxable income. So we take away $200 for taxes. And then when we look at an amortized payment, they push all the interest to the front of the loan. So $700 of that payment went to interest. So we pulled $1,200 of our invested savings out to gain $300 in principal. When we actually look at the dollars and cents of it, it seems quite absurd to do these things. Okay, plus it's making us uncomfortable because our bills are more than our guaranteed income. Now we need our savings, and the snowball effect begins, and it causes problems in our retirement. This is something we have to solve. If our budget is not right, we have to fix it. Okay, so the other problem that can be solved as well is this one. I find people that go into retirement with limited savings, and sometimes we can call them house rich, because let's take the scenario here where we have an $800,000 house that's paid up, but we have $100,000 in savings. Our income is going to pay our bills. We can survive. No big deal. Well, wait until inflation hit. And we all know the Social Security adjustments and everything else don't keep up with inflation truly. Okay, because we've got those Medicare adjustments, so that keeps going up, and we realize that our income typically won't keep up with inflation. Well, with only $100,000 in the bank, that makes things really tight. So now we're going into retirement in an uncomfortable situation. We have to have balance. We have to have enough income to pay the bills, but we also have to have savings for the fun stuff and the emergencies. And for the most part, 100,000 in savings with a tight budget can get a little uncomfortable. But here you are with a house of your dreams that you don't want to move out to, you don't want to downsize, and you want to stay there as long as you can. Okay, so how do we fix this? Well, the biases that I find out there on things like reverse mortgages are quite absurd to me. I'm sorry, there's many things out there that I consider biases that are unwarranted. The rumor mill starts, the newspaper writes an article saying reverse mortgages are stealing homes from seniors, and they had to retract it because it was really about somebody forgetting to pay their property taxes. These rumors spread, and it's not fair. There's nothing wrong with a reverse mortgage. Okay, a knife is a great tool, but you can cut yourself with it. You can get access to some of the equity in your home and go to the casino and lose every penny, but you can't blame the reverse mortgage. And 99.999% of the stories that I've been told as to why I don't like reverse mortgages are just as simple as that. There's nothing wrong with the tool. A reverse mortgage is a regular mortgage. I want everybody to understand that. There's no difference. It is a deed of trust. It has the house that secures this loan. So let's look at the difference between a forward mortgage and a reverse mortgage. Well, first thing is a regular forward mortgage does not have an age restriction, although I've witnessed people get declined because they weren't likely to live 30 years to see the 30-year loan paid off. I actually saw a bank declining people for that. I think they got sued a few times though. But in the reverse mortgages case, this is for seniors. This is a federal loan created by President Reagan, believe it or not. You have to be over 62 to utilize a reverse mortgage. You can use a regular forward mortgage to purchase a home, to refinance an existing mortgage, to cash out some of the equity for maybe home improvements, and even to get a line of credit, right? Well, guess what? The reverse mortgage can do the exact same thing. It is the same thing. It is a mortgage. Somebody's lending you the money. You can purchase a home with it. You can refinance an existing loan with it. You can take some cash out with it. You can even get a line of credit, which happens to be the most popular version of this. Okay? Forward mortgage, we got to pay a payment every month. And it's amortized, which means all the interest is pushed to the front. If you refinance, you just re-push all the interest to the front. Your first payment, a whole bunch of it goes to interest, and every year it gets a little bit less as you go. By the time you're at the last 5-10 years of the term, you have very little going to interest and a lot. Are you going to be around for the last 5 to 10 years of that loan? Whereas a reverse mortgage, okay, they're going to charge you interest, but they're just going to add it to the loan. So it is not amortized. It is a fair amount of interest for what you owe. If you borrowed $50,000, you're going to only have interest accumulating on that $50,000. Okay, this is important to understand. This is, in black and white, a non-recourse loan, meaning you nor your heirs will ever owe more on this house than it's worth. And the only way it will ever be allowed to be paid back is through the sale of the house, which happens after you pass away or because you chose to sell the house. And then you pay back what you owe plus the interest, and that's it. Okay? This is regular mortgages. Most of them are not government protected and run programs, whereas a reverse mortgage is an FHA program. It's administered by the FHA, Federal Housing Administration, and they are very strict. Every lender lends on the exact same rules, period, or they will not get the government insurance that guarantees that bank's going to get all their money back. And that's the only reason this works. Then we have to understand that on a forward mortgage, equity and debt and the payment obligations pass to your heirs. So if you pass away, your heirs inherit the house. Not only do they inherit your debt, but they also inherit the payment that is due every single month. If you had a reverse mortgage, yes, they do inherit the equity in the house. Yes, they do inherit the debt on the house, but they have no payment and they have a year to sell the house or repay the loan. So it puts them in a better position in a lot of cases. So understand there's a lot of mystery around reverse mortgages because they have a stigma about them. Some people say, oh, that's only for the people that are in dire straits and they have to do it. No, do things like this before you become in dire straits. I am such a proactive person. I don't want to see people fall on hard times when they could have fixed it early on with a reverse mortgage. Okay, there's nothing wrong with these. I'm not even licensed to do them anymore. I'm not here to sell them to you. I'm simply here because I want people to eliminate some of those biases and understand that this is a very practical tool that can be utilized in a lot of situations. All right, here's the other problem we have. We got a problem with safe investments, and we have biases that are completely horrific out there. And they're biases because your advisors have ways that they normally make money that you don't understand. And that's the hard part. As a fiduciary, I'm supposed to do what's right for you, but it also takes money out of my pocket to do what's right for you. That's so important to understand. Every advisor out there is faced with making this much money and doing this for you, or making this much money and doing this for you. And that is terrible. And it's across our industry, and nobody wants to talk about it. But it's absolutely unequivocally true. All right? So here's the deal. The last 30 years, bonds have been wonderful. Last 10 or so, we've kind of floundered. Honestly, since 2002, it's been like this. So 2 decades now. Gosh. It's been 2 decades since 2002. I might be getting old. Okay, that one hurt. 2 decades, interest rates have been floundering. When interest rates go up, the value of bonds goes down. If you did not realize that this year, you might want to take a look at your portfolio. Most bond portfolios are down 10%. And the only way you're going to recover that money is if interest rates crash. And oh, guess what? If interest rates crash, I guarantee you the stock market crashed. All right. So we need to understand that our feds are disconnected from the stock market, right? So they're pushing interest rates up, pushing interest. It's really their only mechanism to combat this inflation. It dampens the spending out there. Supply and demand starts fixing itself and everything goes back to normal. We can start making money in our bank accounts, which I don't even remember when my checking account paid me interest. And all of a sudden I'm starting to see it. Okay. So bonds are a problem. When interest rates rise, the value of our bonds goes down, period. Okay. These are safe investments that we have to sell at the market. We can't just redeem them. We can't just say, hey, give me my money. That's not how bonds work. If you own bonds or bond mutual funds, you've seen the value of those go down as interest rates rise, and that is the inherent problem with bonds. Interest rates have been so low for so long that all of our bond mutual funds are filled up with 30-year bonds from the last 20 years. That means the yield in these bond mutual funds is 2-3% unless you're getting the junk bond funds with much more risk. Okay, if we're looking for safe investments, you're making 2-3%. Well, if you haven't noticed, interest rates are much better than that. And I'm going to show you how much better in a second. Okay, you go buy bonds, you're going to have to go out 30 years to find 5% in a safe bond. That's a problem. And if interest rates rise, you're going to lose money. We don't need this. This doesn't make sense. Safe investments should not lose money when we're seeing inflation. And that's exactly what bonds do. And if your advisor didn't understand that or know that, shame on them. They should. It's obvious. It's been in every education I've ever had, whether it's my master's degree, my CFP, any of these. Every time we look at economics, every time we look at interest rates, bonds are involved. It's obvious to anybody paying attention that knows what they're doing. So the next thing is CDs. CDs have always been terrible. Banks know this. Banks have been smarter than everybody else. They push you into those 1-year CDs by not giving you access to it. So the typical CDs, now there's some anomalies out there, but the typical CDs have no liquidity. That's why they push you into the shorter terms. They're simple interest. They only pay interest on your original investment dollars, and that's it. Lower interest rates. Callable, meaning if they don't want to pay the interest anymore, let's say they're issuing them at 4 or 5% right now, but interest rates go down to 2%, they can just say, I don't want to pay you your money. Here's your money back. They don't want to pay you interest anymore. And some of these even don't have what they call death puts in that business, meaning no death benefit. You got to keep riding out the term until the term is up to get no penalty. So we got to be careful about these CDs. They don't honestly make much sense when we know there's better alternatives. And the alternative that we have to eliminate our bias on is that nasty word annuity. Yes, there's people out there selling them in dinner seminars for high commissions and don't care about you. Yes, that happens. I totally get it. I know where the bad name comes from, but the reality is not one dinner seminar has ever sold one of these. This is a multi-year guarantee annuity. This is literally a CD from an insurance company, and the only reason it's not in every portfolio is because the commission is only 1 or 2%. Okay, if I put a bond portfolio in your portfolio, if I add bonds in there, I'm going to charge a management fee of 1% a year. So over a 5-year period, I'm going to make 5%. If I put your money in a fixed annuity for 5 years, I'm going to make 2%, not from you. It doesn't come from your dollars. It comes from the insurance company. They pay me a flat commission. I make nothing for the 5 years except that 2% up front. So I'm a fiduciary. If that's right for you, I have to do that for you, right? Why isn't every fiduciary abandoning bonds and doing these? Because notice that 5-year is at 6%. That's a simple interest. 5.6% compound interest. If you're comparing it to bonds, you have to compare simple interest. Okay, these are tax deferred compound interest, except for the two that have that asterisk at 6%. And I just heard they raised that 6% to 6.15%. So we're even over 6% right now. Okay, 10% penalty-free access. That means you have access to this money. This is usable money in your retirement portfolio. When you have to take a required minimum distribution, you can just reach in and pull the money out. It's magical. There's no penalties. There's no fees. There's no cost. There's no risk. We have to understand the biases that are out there are honestly only because the advisor makes less money and they don't want you to use these. That's the only reason. These are so much better than any bond out there and any CD out there that I don't understand how it's possible that they've been hiding this for this long. Okay, I've seen these for decades. These have been around for decades. They've been around since the 70s. We got to understand that the reason the industry doesn't do these is because they don't want you to do these. But we've now come to this time where we're seeing these rising interest rates and feeling the pain of the bonds. And now people are starting to pay attention. We didn't have to pay attention before. Bonds, yeah, they were just fine. Yeah, interest rates are really low. No big deal. We understand there's not really any place to earn anything. Okay? Well, it's not true. These have always had higher interest rates than CDs. Always had better interest rates than CDs, and they're simple. That 5-year fixed is fixed for 5 years. You have compound interest growth if you don't need the money. If you do need the money, interest only is fine, or a simple interest is fine because you're pulling it out anyways. You have your choices. You have access to up to 10% of the money each year. Functionally, this is a safe investment that we all need to understand and eliminate our biases. The variation of this that we do have to pay attention to is called a fixed indexed annuity. Okay, this has evolved quite a bit out of necessity as well. This is a fixed annuity. It has no risk at all by regulation. Okay, it's very important to understand this is as safe gets. And instead of just a plain fixed interest rate, they give you a fixed interest rate plus indexing options. Okay, when I say indexing options, it's annual point to point. So anniversary from anniversary to anniversary. Okay, so you got 1 point in time, 2 points in time. If the stock index goes up, they have to pay you based on the math that's in the contract. And in this example, it's 170% of whatever the S&P's multi-asset index does. So if it's up 10%, yes, they have to pay you 17%. That's true. Okay. and it's real, and it sounds too good to be true, because it's even better. When the market goes down, they don't have to pay you anything, but you don't lose anything. This is so important. And if you understood how stock options worked, that's how they're making this happen. You can do it in your own portfolio with risk, or you can let them do it and you have no risk. They're taking on the risk. That's really how it's happening. And because they have economies of scale, all of these insurance companies, you wouldn't believe how much money they have. These are the largest conglomeration of money in the world, not just the United States. Insurance companies really do control things. They're the big investment portfolios. So they're able to do things that we can't do in our own portfolio. And they're giving us an option with no risk and no fees to be able to be flexible enough to have a fixed interest rate. In my example, I have 60% of the money in the fixed interest rate and 40% in the indexing. And you can look at the annual returns that we got. Annuity returns 100%. In 2001, we made 2.4, goes down and down and down all the way down. And you can even see in 2019, we made 11%, then we made 7.98, and then 2.62. It all averages out to a compound 6.37. That's simple interest of over 12% annually. And those are real, and they're guaranteed for the whole term. Okay? We've never seen safe investments this good, ever. Being able to lock this stuff in at where we're at now is phenomenal. And a lot of this is coming because these insurance companies really want new money in so they can buy better investments out there themselves. They're really asking for the new money to come in. So you have the ability to change how you earn interest each year. And that's what's magical about these fixed indexed annuities. You can have your fixed interest rate, and then you can move to the indexing, and then you can move there, and then you can put half and half and 40-60. You can do it all different ways that you want and mix it up year to year. This is truly a great safe investment for portfolios, and you have access to 10% of your money. So that makes it usable for retirees, especially for people that are at that required minimum distribution phase, or just honestly in any IRA, because you're going to have to pull money out of there at some point. So having safe, stable investments to pull from that you can actually withdraw money from becomes very important. All right. So what else? Some concerns? Well, yes, this locks up your money, locks up 90% of it because you have access to 10. But if you go into long-term care, you have 100% access. If you pass away, 100% goes to your heirs. And again, no fees and no risk. This is where we're seeing a huge migration of IRA money going in to handle those required distributions. And by the way, I back tested this over and over and over again. For the last couple of decades, the fixed indexed annuity has blown away the performance of any stock market, of any safe investment, period, when it comes to required minimum distributions. They shine when it comes to that withdrawal phase of life. Okay, so eliminate some of those biases. I know I went through a lot there, but the two things that I don't like the biases out there on is the annuity world and the reverse mortgage world. And I think that's a big part of fixing problems in people's portfolios to handle volatility in our markets. I'm a big fan of the stock market, but it's got to be used responsibly as you go into retirement. And that's very important. All right. Thank you, everybody. Let us know if we can help out in any way. If you have not subscribed to our channel, why not? This is the greatest thing ever. I love being able to do this every week, putting on some new stuff. And I do. Every week, I've added 2 to 3 videos. So subscribe, share it with your friends, let people know about videos that you've seen, like the videos. And certainly, if you have any comments or questions or feedback, let me know if I can help in any way. Contact us anytime. I'm always happy to help. Thanks again, everybody.